Hi there, fishy folks, and welcome back to Michael's Fish Room. Today, let's talk about how to feed a community fish tank. Grab yourself a healthy snack and an ice cold beverage. Stand by. Alright, fishy folks, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about how to feed a community fish tank. Once again, I've seen on social media people way overthinking this, and you know, one of my favorite things to say is don't overthink it. Feeding your fish should be simple. It should be enjoyable for you to watch them. It should be a time where, you know, you're looking at the fish, making sure everyone's healthy. But if you're worrying about all these different nutritional requirements, you're not paying attention to that. It's probably not helpful or calm or enjoyable to you. You don't want to make it a chore. So how do you feed a community fish tank when you have a hodgepodge of different fish? Like I said in the beginning, you know, if you did your research ahead of time and got fish with all the same or similar dietary needs, this wouldn't be a problem. But when you go to the local fish store and little Johnny picks out, you know, a red-tailed shark, and little Marcy picks out a longfin green dragon pleco, and then you want some tetras, and then she wants some guppies and angelfish and all these other community fish that have different dietary needs. Now, most community fish or fish that people put in a community tank have very similar needs. Most of them are omnivores, which means they'll eat both plant-based protein and meat animal-based protein. And most of them will take a commercially based food quite easily. Now, as you know, I do feed primarily Dr. Basilears in the fish room. This is one of my favorites, acai. I don't know if that's how you say it, but it's fun to say. Say it with me. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Acai. Okay. What I do is I get pellets. These are all about the same size pellets. And I put them in a little deli cup like this. Don't tell Dr. Basilear, he doesn't like this. He likes his containers. And then I feed the fish room, you know, like 3 or 4 different varieties or flavors, so they get a variety of different foods at the same time. But Mike, these aren't community tanks. They all have the same kind of fish. Well, yes, they all have guppies, but some of them have plecos, which don't like a lot of meat-based protein. Some of them also have plecos that do like a lot of meat-based protein. And some of them have cories. And then there's, of course, Taco, who has to have high protein, but that's a whole nother story. So what do you do for a community tank? Well, you want to get a good basic community food. I happen to like, as far as flakes go, I really like Ocean Nutrition. This is the discus flake. Now this has almost 52% protein in it, so it is high protein, but it's really good as a general type food. I would stay away from like the Hikari and the API and the bug bites. People say, my fish love them. That doesn't mean anything. I love bacon, and I had a heart attack because of it, so let's stay away from the phrase, but my fish love it. It has to be good for them. And most fish, in fact, I've never run into a fish that was stubborn to eating any food I've given it that I couldn't get to eat the food. So if you're saying to myself, but Mike, I've tried Dr. Basilears and the fish don't like it, do this. Fast them for 3 days. Then drop a little bit of food in. Guarantee you they eat it all. And then just add a little bit more every now and again, and boom, they'll eat it. So when you're feeding a community fish tank, you want it to be as easy as possible. You want it to be stress-free. So you find a good mix of food. You could get, you know, 1 or 2 different pellets or 1 or 2 different flake foods, mix them together, drop the food in, enough that they eat in, say, 1 minute to 2 minutes, and you're done. Don't overthink it. Put a little food in, they'll eat it. If you put food in and you come back half an hour later and there's food laying on the bottom, don't feed so much next time. Cut down how much you're feeding. If you're not sure how much to feed, drop a pinchful of food in. I'm talking, so this is Forte. This is really good for if you just got fish in. It helps calm them down, clean out their gut a little bit. It's really good. This is what I feed all my imports when they come in for the first week. Now, Dr. Basileir's has this little tiny spoon. I don't like the spoon because I have 60 tanks. However, in a community tank, the spoon is good because then you can portion control. Put 1 spoon in. Half the food will float, half the food will sink. If you don't have Dr. Basileir's and it's another food, try to get floating food because eventually the floating food will sink, but sinking food never floats, and depending on what fish you have, you're going to want floating and sinking. I know the Cobalt food that I used to feed quite often, still a good brand of food. Their food was designed to float and sink at the same time, which I thought was pretty cool. So, put a spoonful or, you know, a tiny bit, like look, this is how much you should feed, right? You take this spoon, let's say you don't have the spoon. So you take this amount of food, just that amount. Remember, their bellies are tiny, especially if they're little fish. Now, if you have gigantic fish, like taco, that's different, but that's not in the community tank. So most community fish are small. You take that much food, you drop it in. Watch them for a minute or two. If there's still a lot of food in the water, half that the next time. If there's no food left after 10 seconds, double it. It's that simple. Don't overthink it. Now let's say you have a problem fish, like a pleco that's really shy and doesn't come out. How do you feed that fish while making sure all the other fish are fed but don't starve the pleco? Great question. I'll tell you how to answer it. I mean, I'll answer that. I'll tell you how to do it. Turn the lights off at night. If you have a timer, which you should, after the lights go off, maybe half an hour, you drop whatever sinking food you have for the fish. If you're going to go with Dr. Basileir's and you have green, or you have Better Tabs, or North Fin, kelp wafers are really good. Drop it where the pleco cave usually is when it's dark. Okay? The other trick you can do is you feed all the community fish on one side and then you drop the pleco food on the other side. But I like the doing it, you know, when it's dark trick. It always works for me. Now, I am not an expert in all fish. I do know a little bit about guppies, plecos, angelfish, rams, those kind of fish, because I keep them. Cories, I keep them and I sell them. So I can't answer all your questions. What about my super rare blah 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 that only eats freshly prepared brine shrimp with garlic? I don't know what to tell you. Sorry. That's not a real community fish, I guess. But for the most part, the general population of tetras, cories, you know, angelfish, guppies, live bears, whatever, very easy. Don't overthink it. You drop some food in, they eat it. I don't know what else to tell you. Any comments or questions, as always, leave them down below and I'll do my best to answer them. Also, don't forget to check out my website, michaelsfishroom.com and teespring.com. Buy your loved one a shirt. Like if you got kicked out of Cookie's Fish Room, buy this shirt for them. All right, folks, have a great Thanksgiving. And I'll see you soon. Bye. Alright, fishy folks, welcome back to the channel. Today, like I said, we're going to be talking about how to feed a community fish tank. Again, I've seen people way overthink this on social media, and you know, my biggest what? Phrase? Thought? You're dope. That's what. Excuse me. Anyway, what I do is I get food.